I just so much to be grateful for, including all of you that are here, but I do want to say Catherine is changing lives and saving lives, and it's been amazing with her courage, sharing her story. But also, we're super grateful for all of you. We talk about the best of America, and we see it every day that we're in Iowa, because all of you are out here. I view the President's job as the CEO of America, and the first screening interview is the Iowa caucuses. You get to tell the rest of the nation who you think should have that job. And so you take your job very seriously, and everybody we meet is so informed, so knowledgeable about the issues that are facing this country. It's been a real joy to be here. But as a little bit of background on me, when I grew up in a town like many of you probably did, Arthur, North Dakota, 300 people. It's a small little agricultural community, and it was fantastic growing up there. Working on the farm, working on the ranch, working at the grain elevator. Every job I had, through my mid-20s was a job where you took a shower at the end of the day instead of the beginning of the day. And I think it'd be great if we had somebody in the White House that understands how Americans that have to put food on the table, really have to go to work every day. When growing up, it was incredibly amazing parents. My dad was a World War II Navy officer. After Pearl Harbor, he'd gone down to the gym in Castleton, 15 miles away, and signed up. I enrolled in the Navy, and born and raised in the same town I grew up in. He had a college degree from North Dakota State. And by the way, there's one jersey over here. Go Bison. Okay, all right. Good job. Some of you know who the Bison are. If you went to either Iowa State or Iowa or Drake, you've heard of us. I won't mention specifics, but Catherine and I have had some great days in Iowa following our football team. But he had a college degree from North Dakota State, and in those days, in 90-day wonder, if you had a college degree, they'd turn you into a naval officer. He'd never seen the ocean. I don't even know if he knew how to swim. He was on a destroyer for 2.5 years, apart from my mom. At Okinawa, there was 151 destroyers there. 129 of them got hit by kamikazes, and only by the grace of God, I'm standing here, that he was on one that made it through that. Came back to Arthur, and we had a great life growing up. But then my dad passed away when I was a freshman in high school. And my mom, widow, 3 kids, going back to work. If you know anybody in your life that's a single mom that's had to raise kids, I understand what you've gone through. And I just want to say that in our mid-20s, I had a little bit of farm ground, 160 acres, dry land wheat farming in North Dakota. That's not anywhere near enough to be a farmer. Everybody in North Dakota knows that, but it was the one thing I had, and I mortgaged that ground. I literally bet the farm, provide the seed capital for a little startup called Great Plains Software. We started with less than 10 people. 18 years later, we were an overnight success story. A lot of ups and downs in those 18 years, but we built a company of 2,000 people. We had customers in 130 countries. We had team members working for us all over the world, but most of those team members came from 220 different small towns across North Dakota. And I know what small town kids could do. And they told us all along, you can't build a world-class software company in North Dakota. They also said you can't win as governor when you're down 60 points in the polls. I've been told that my entire life, but all of you know, if we give the Midwestern small town folks, if you give them a level playing field, we can outperform our farmers, and America can outperform anybody in the world. Our manufacturing, our innovation, what we do. And so I'm a real believer in America and our future. And presidential campaigns need to be about the future. And when we're running for 3 policy areas, but we're running because those 3 policy areas matter to every one of you. Economy, number 1, energy, number 2, and national security, number 3. And national security includes food security, energy security, and border security. And I'm not just running because I think we need a course correction. I'm running because right now we have an administration, the Biden administration is 180 degrees wrong on all of these. Thank you. And I'm not just saying a little bit. All of you are staring at 22-year high interest rates. We just got downgraded as a country. America got downgraded financially on our bond ratings last week, and they buried it in some news, behind some other stuff. That's going to affect you, your kids, and your grandkids, because we've got so much debt piled up. Lower bond ratings are going to mean higher interest rates. So whether it's the debt that's out of control, the spending that's out of the control, the fact that our economy should be sprinting and it's crawling right now because it's buried under red tape. In North Dakota, we say one thing over and over. It's innovation, not regulation. Innovation built this country, and that built our economy. And we need to get our economy going because we're in a Cold War with China. We're in an actual proxy war with Russia, And the way that we win those cold wars and those wars is that we get our economy going. So we've got to cut red tape. In North Dakota this last year, we passed 51 out of 52 red tape reduction bills. Where did we get the ideas? We got them, of course, from our cabinet leaders that do what we do in North Dakota. We treat customers, we treat taxpayers like the customers they are. You all pay for government. You're the customer. And that's the way we need to think about it. The federal government overreaches. The federal government has got a limited set of things they're supposed to do. And I've seen it as an entrepreneur. I've seen it as a running larger businesses, and I've seen it as a governor. As a governor, you have a front row seat watching the federal government overreach with red tape that raises the cost of everything you do, and it restricts what we can do in terms of energy in this country. Our energy policy of the Biden administration, the one we have right now, I think was actually designed by China. And I don't mean that really as a joke. I mean it as for real, because how else could you say we're going to get rid of every internal combustion machine in America by a certain date? We're going to get rid of ethanol, biofuels, gas, internal thing, and we're going to go all electric. We're going to go all electric because that's good for the environment. Let me tell you how it's bad for the environment, because right now 85% of the rare earth minerals are controlled by China. So if you want to enslave ourselves to China and say our future, we're just going to trade OPEC for Sinopec, we're going to get all of our batteries from them. China already 2 weeks ago was cutting off rare earth mineral imports into Japan. They're already using it as a tool. But you know who's got an energy problem? China does. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day into their country to keep their economy going. 10 million. They're the largest importer of any country in the world. And we had Blinken, Yellen, and Kerry all over there. None of them were talking about how the U.S., which can be an energy, not just independent, but an energy superpower, energy dominant, how we can use that in our negotiations with China. China also imports calories every day. They don't raise enough food to feed everybody in that country. So what do we have? What do we have in Iowa? What do we have in America? We feed the world. We fuel the world. This is the powerhouse economy we have. We do not have to be in second place to China on anything. The United States, not only best country in the world, but the strongest economy. We're choking it to death with policies that actually are going in the wrong direction. And I said about the environment, if you care about the environment, you would want to have every ounce of energy produced in the United States. We produce it cleaner, safer, and smarter than anybody else in the world. Absolutely we do. And thank you. And the opportunity for things like sustainable aviation fuels coming out of Iowa, unbelievable. This has got an opportunity to increase the value of every corn acre in the state, increase the value of every soybean acre in the state. We have an opportunity as a country to really move forward with energy policy that would help us sell energy to our friends and allies, stop buying it from our enemies. People ask me, what would you do on the first day in office? It would be that. We're going to sell energy to our friends and allies, stop buying it from our adversaries and our enemies. It's just that simple. And lastly, on national security, when I say national security, it's food security, energy security, and also border security. We've got it completely wrong. Whether it's the incredible, withdrawal from Afghanistan that happened right before 9/11. We were having an event in North Dakota, not celebrating, but honoring those people who had died during the war on terror. We had 29 North Dakota sons and daughters that had died in the Middle East during the war on terror. The Gold Star families were there, at that event. And then we have, 2 weeks before that, withdrawal from Afghanistan, and those parents in North Dakota, they thought their sons and daughters died for something. They thought that they were making a sacrifice for their country, but that was dishonored by the way we pulled out of that. And then that sends a signal to our allies around the world, which is don't worry about the U.S. It's okay. They're pulling back. They're withdrawing. And then we let all of Western Europe get dependent on Russia for energy. And then Biden himself says, I'm not sure what I would do if Putin invaded Ukraine. We green-lighted all the movement of Putin in that. We basically gave him the green light to go in. Had all of Western Europe dependent on his energy. He moves into Ukraine. I'm telling you, if we were supplying Western Europe with energy, he wouldn't even dare go into Ukraine. But then when he went in, guess what? Price of gas goes up. He makes bank on all of that for like the first 6 months. Then belatedly, we go, we're going to sanction Russian oil. So now we sanction Russian oil. Guess what? Their price has gone down on the world market about 20% for their oil. Who's buying it? China. So China, who we're competing with, is getting low-cost energy. I'm pretty sure any farmer in Iowa right now would like to go fill up on 20% off diesel tomorrow, but we got a policy that's giving low-cost energy to China as opposed to getting into the United States. And we've had out-of-work oil field workers in North Dakota at the same time the State Department was going to Venezuela. Not only did they have human rights violations, they didn't even have an EPA. Like I said, nobody produces it cleaner and safer than we do. So again, I'll repeat, if you care about the environment, you want to have the energy produced here. If you care about global stability, you want to have the energy produced here. And the national security includes border security. I was down there on Monday and Tuesday this week in Texas visiting two different groups of North Dakota National Guard. One's an aviation battalion that's been down there since last October flying Lakota helicopters in support of a federal mission. The other was a group that came down in support of Governor Greg Abbott, just like Iowa and others are sending, Republican states are sending National Guard troops to support down. Just take away one fact, there are less than 20,000 people in the Border Patrol in the entire country, and we know that in North Dakota because we have 360 miles of border with Canada. Not a problem, but a lot of those crossings aren't even open because they're pulling people off the northern border to go to the southern border, because on the southern border, everybody that can take early retirement has. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the technology, they don't have anything to do their job. They are literally not being supported. One of the jobs of the President of the United States is national security. That includes border security. I will be down on the border in the first 2 weeks. Biden been down there for 2 years to get down there, and we've got a huge problem down there. And let's take one other thing that touches all of you. Every state is a border state. There was under Biden a year ago 107,000 overdose deaths. Last year 110,000 overdose deaths. Don't think about these as an overdose deaths like, oh, someone struggling with addiction. 70% of those are fentanyl poisoning. 70% of those may be someone who isn't even understand that they may even be approaching addiction. They take one pill and it's got fentanyl, and then they're found dead in their own bed in their own home. And we know this because everywhere Catherine and I go, parents come up to us afterwards after she shares her story, and they tell us their story about how they've lost a son or a daughter. 110,000 we can't get our head around. It's 300 people a day are dying in this country. We're taking mass casualties because of an open border. And so in the China precursors are all being made. I mean, China's producing those precursors to fentanyl that are coming into the United States. So we've got some huge issues, but we also have some huge opportunities, because if we get it right on the economy, we get it right on energy, we get it right on national security, we have an opportunity to improve every American life. I know that because in North Dakota, when we ran, we understood something. If you want to throw bombs at the other party, the other side, run for Congress. I will never be a congressman. I'll never be a senator. They do amazing work. I love them. But I'm an operating guy. I've grown up building stuff and running stuff. And when you're in the executive branch, you have a job to serve everybody. When there's a blizzard in North Dakota, we don't ask if you're a Republican, Independent, or Democrat before we decide to plow your road. We plow the road for everybody. We do our job first. And that's what we need in the executive branch in this country right now. So in closing, I just want to say again, thank you to all of you. Grateful for everybody. Thanks for your time. Thanks for stopping today. The Iowa State Fair is absolutely amazing. Catherine and I love it. She grew up, I grew up in a small town. She grew up in a big town, Jamestown, North Dakota. 15,000 people in Jamestown. And if you guys understand, I understand how high school sports are. Another thing you need to know about me, in high schools in North Dakota, there's only two classes. There's A and there's B. A is the Fargo, the Bismarck, the Jamestowns. B is like the town I grew up in. Class A girls never marry Class B boys. So this is the first miracle. You think I can't win, then just understand about what I've already accomplished in my life. So. But her family grew up in the John Deere business, so she grew up with her sisters, sweeping the floors, mowing the lawns, and selling parts in the part department at John Deere dealership. And as we say down here, Iowa feels like home. We love it. The first event we did was in the shop of an invalid dealership, and she not only said she loved it, she goes, I love the way it smells. It smells like home. And so with that, we want to just say thank you for Iowa. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Carol. Thank Des Moines Register. Great event. We're honored to be kicking it off right now. We hope that you'll go to DougBurgum.com, learn more about our event. We will be on the debate stage in 2 weeks, one of 8 folks that are going to be on that. And if you're interested in some small-town common sense going to Washington, D.C., I think they could use some more of that in Washington. And if you're interested in making sure that Biden's a one-term president, and if you're interested in seeing what people that are focused and know how to get the job done, because there shouldn't be anybody that's the President of the United States that has not worked in the private sector. If you haven't created jobs, if you haven't made payroll, then I don't know how you're going to get the economy going unless you have that experience. But it also helps, having been a governor in the last 6 years, and what we've done, we've cut taxes by record amounts. We cut the budget by $1.7 billion out of a $6 billion budget, kept the trains running on time. And as I talked about, we eliminated tons of red tape. We know how to make government run better because technology is changing every job, every company, and every industry, but it has barely touched government yet. And with the 30 years that I spent in the software business, we got a few things that we know about what we can do to protect all of your data because we're under cyber attack every day. We also know how we can make government run more efficiently. So with that, we just want to say again, thanks for having us. Have a fantastic rest of your show. We love being in Iowa. Appreciate your support, and we'd love to have your support in the caucuses come January, but you'll probably see us multiple times between now and then. But let's go Iowa, and thank you very much.